They say the darkest moment comes right before dawn. For Riang Min-jae, that moment came in a quiet café at 6:47 a.m., staring at cold coffee and wondering if a man like him, a man built from violence and feared by thousands, could ever deserve redemption. The answer walked up to him in a pink sweater, holding a cookie, and asked the one question no one had dared ask in years. Riang sat at a corner table in the Sunrise Café, motionless. 33 years old. A Korean mafia boss who controlled half the city's underground operations with ruthless efficiency. And on this particular morning, betrayed by the two people he'd trusted most in the world, he felt like the most powerless man alive. The morning had started with a phone call that shattered everything. His accountant's voice, tight with panic. "Sir, the offshore accounts. Every single one. They're empty. 8 years of carefully accumulated wealth, millions of dollars, vanished overnight." Then came the security footage. Jae-min, his business partner, the man he'd built an empire with, walking out of their private server room carrying hard drives, client lists, financial records, alliance agreements, information worth more than money, information that could topple governments and end lives. Gone. But even that wasn't the deepest cut. The deepest cut came in 16 words via text message. Asterisk, "I'm with Jae-min now. We've been together for almost a year. Don't try to find us. Your ring is on your desk." Asterisk. Hannah, his fiancée of 2 years. The woman he'd planned to marry in 3 months. The woman who'd shared his bed, his secrets, his vulnerabilities. She hadn't just left him. She'd married the man who destroyed him. The wedding had happened hours ago, while Riang was still reeling from the financial devastation. The betrayal wasn't impulsive. It was strategic, calculated. A year in the making. His phone had buzzed one final time that morning. Marcus, his most loyal man. "Boss, half your crew switched sides overnight. They're taking orders from Jae-min now. He's claiming leadership. What do you want me to do?" What did he want? Riang Min-jae had built a criminal empire from nothing. He'd survived poverty, gang wars, and assassination attempts. He controlled territory across 3 cities. Politicians feared his phone calls. Rivals crossed the street when they saw him. He'd built everything with blood, strategy, and iron discipline. But sitting in this cafe, wearing a designer suit that still smelled faintly of gunpowder from the ambush he'd barely survived hours earlier, Riang realized something terrifying. He didn't know anymore. The cafe was quiet, peaceful in a way his world never was. A few early risers tapped on laptops near the windows. An elderly man in a threadbare jacket read the newspaper in the corner, occasionally sipping tea. The young barista wiped down the espresso machine, glancing at Riang with concern every few minutes. He must have looked like death. Across the room, a woman in a faded blue cleaning uniform moved between tables with slow, careful movements. Heavily pregnant. 7 or 8 months by the look of it. One hand held a cleaning cloth while the other rested protectively on her swollen belly. She moved with the exhausted determination of someone who couldn't afford to stop working, no matter how tired. A little girl sat at one of the cleaned tables, completely absorbed in her coloring book. Maybe 7 years old, with brown skin and curly dark hair pulled back with a bright pink bow. She wore a pink sweater over a white dress with small flowers, humming softly as she worked on her drawing. Riang noticed them peripherally, the way he noticed everything, but didn't really see them. His mind was still trapped in the wreckage of his life. The betrayal. The humiliation. The question of what came next when everything you'd built turned to ash. "Are you okay, sir?" The small voice cut through the darkness in his head like a beam of light. Riang looked up, blinking. The little girl stood beside his table. Big brown eyes filled with genuine worry. The pink bow in her hair was slightly crooked. She held a half-eaten chocolate chip cookie in one small hand, and her expression was far too serious for a child her age. Concerned. Compassionate. Real. Riang stared at her, his exhausted brain struggling to process the simple question. "Are you okay?" When was the last time someone had asked him that and actually meant it? When was the last time anyone had looked at him and seen a person instead of a monster, a threat, a means to an end? "You look really, really sad," the girl said, her voice gentle. She carefully placed her cookie on his table, like it was the most valuable thing she owned. "My mommy says when people look sad, we should check on them. So, are you okay?" The innocence of it, the pure, uncomplicated kindness, hit Riang harder than any bullet ever had. This child had walked up to one of the most dangerous men in the city and offered him a cookie and compassion. "Raya." The pregnant woman hurried over, slightly breathless, alarm flashing across her face. "Baby, you can't just walk up to strangers like that." "But mommy, look at his eyes," Raya insisted, pointing at Riang with the fearless honesty only children possess. "They're so sad. Like how I looked when Daddy left." The woman reached them, and Riang looked up fully. She was beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with artifice or calculation. Natural. Real. She wore a cleaning uniform with a name tag that read Kate. Her hair was pulled into a simple bun. Dark circles under her eyes spoke of too many hours worked and not enough sleep. The pregnancy clearly exhausted her. But when she looked at her daughter, her face held nothing but love. "I'm so sorry, sir," Kate said, her voice gentle but firm as she rested a protective hand on her daughter's shoulder. "Raya has a very big heart and sometimes forgets about personal boundaries." Riang surprised himself by speaking. His voice came out rough, scraped raw by hours of suppressed emotion. "It's okay." He looked at the little girl, at her worried face and the cookie she'd given up for him. "She's right. I am sad." The admission hung in the air between them. Vulnerable. Honest. The kind of truth Riang Minjae never allowed himself to speak. Kate's expression shifted, surprise melting into something softer. Understanding. She studied him more carefully now. The expensive suit that didn't match the broken posture. The exhaustion etched into his handsome face. The dangerous stillness that suggested violence barely contained beneath the surface. She'd seen broken men before, but none who carried it quite like this. "Would you like me to warm up your coffee?" Kate asked quietly. No charge. Riang looked at her. Then at Raya. Then at the small chocolate chip cookie sitting on his table like a tiny offering of hope in the darkest moment of his life. "Yes," he heard himself say. "Thank you." Kate nodded, squeezed her daughter's shoulder, and headed toward the counter. Raya didn't leave immediately. She tilted her head, studying Riang like he was a puzzle she was determined to solve. "Are you going to eat the cookie?" "I picked chocolate chip special because they're the best kind when you're sad. That's what Mommy tells me when I miss my daddy." The casual mention of her absent father, spoken without bitterness, just fact, made something twist in Riang's chest. This child understood loss. Understood sadness. And instead of letting it harden her, she'd chosen kindness. Despite everything, the betrayal burning in his chest, the empire crumbling around him, the fury he could barely contain, Riang felt his lips curve slightly. Not quite a smile. But close. "I will," he promised quietly. "Thank you, Raya." Her entire face lit up with joy, as if making him promise to eat a cookie was the greatest victory she'd ever won. She skipped back to her table, immediately returning to her coloring. Riang watched her go. Watched Kate return with fresh, steaming coffee and a careful smile that somehow felt warmer than anything Hannah had ever given him. Watched the way mother and daughter existed in their small bubble of ordinary life. Struggling financially, exhausted, abandoned by the man who should have protected them, but still kind. Still showing up for each other. Still finding reasons to offer cookies to sad strangers. And for the first time since reading Hannah's devastating text message, Riang Minjae felt something besides rage and despair. He felt human. He felt seen. He felt like maybe, just maybe, redemption wasn't completely impossible. What Riang didn't know was that this moment, this simple act of compassion from a struggling cleaner and her innocent daughter, would become the turning point that saved his life. What Kate didn't know was that the sad, dangerous man at table 7 would soon become her family's protector, provider, and eventually, the father figure Raya desperately needed. And what neither of them knew was that Jaemin and Hannah were already planning their next move. Already watching. Already preparing to destroy the one thing that could give Riang hope ***. The fragile, beautiful family he never expected to find. Because in their world, kindness was weakness. Love was leverage. And a mafia boss showing softness was an invitation for destruction. Asterisk asterisk. But Raya had asked a question that would change everything asterisk. Are you okay, sir? And for the first time in his life, Riang Min-jae was going to learn what it meant to answer honestly. If this story is already touching your heart, smash that subscribe button. Drop a red heart in the comments if you believe even the darkest souls deserve a second chance. The next scene reveals how Riang begins secretly helping Kate and Raya, and how his enemies start watching. You do not want to miss what happens next. Are you okay, sir? Raya's voice was small but steady. She placed the cookie on his table. Chocolate chip, slightly crumbled from being clutched in her small hand. Her dark eyes studied him with worry that seemed too deep for a 7-year-old. You look really sad. My mommy says when people look sad, we should check on them. Raya. Kate rushed over, slightly breathless, one hand instinctively supporting her pregnant belly. Baby, you can't just walk up to people like that. She looked at Riang apologetically, embarrassment coloring her cheeks. I'm so sorry, sir. She has a very big heart and sometimes forgets about personal space. Riang stared at the child. When was the last time anyone had asked if he was okay? When was the last time someone looked at him and saw a person instead of a threat? His reputation made hardened criminals cross the street. Grown men lowered their eyes when he passed. Yet this child saw only sadness. It's okay, Riang heard himself say, his voice rougher than intended. She's right. I am sad. The admission shocked him. He never admitted weakness. Never showed vulnerability. But something about this child's innocent concern bypassed every defense he'd spent years building. Kate studied him more carefully now. The expensive suit, the exhausted eyes, the danger radiating from him despite his stillness. She'd cleaned offices for wealthy men before. She'd seen broken people. But none who hid it quite this well. Weeks passed. Riang returned to the café, not every day, but often enough that Raya started waving excitedly when she spotted him. Kate remained cautious but polite, her guard slowly lowering. He learned their story in fragments. Raya's father had abandoned them when Kate got pregnant again. Rent was always late. Doctor bills piled up faster than her paycheck could cover. Her cleaning hours had been cut. They were drowning quietly. Riang made calls. Anonymous envelopes appeared in Kate's mailbox. Always cash, never traceable. Her landlord suddenly waived late fees, citing a clerical error. Extra cleaning shifts materialized at locations that paid double her normal rate. Kate suspected someone was helping but had no proof. The connection deepened in small ways. Raya started leaving crayon drawings on his table. Flowers, rainbows, stick figure families. Riang kept every single one in his car's glove compartment. Kate brought him fresh coffee without being asked, noticing he never actually drank it but always accepted it. Small conversations developed. Careful. Guarded. Real. Across the city, Kim Sung-go, one of Riang's rivals, studied surveillance photos with interest. Our cold boss has a soft spot? How fascinating. He smiled. Keep watching them. Marcus found Riang that evening. Boss, people are noticing. The café. The woman and kid. You're making yourself vulnerable. Riang's jaw tightened. I know. But he didn't stop going. Kim Sung-go's men struck at midnight. Broken windows. Overturned tables. Threats spray-painted across the café walls in blood red. Tell Riang we know about his weakness. Kate found the damage at 5 a.m., Raya sobbing beside her. The police came, took notes, and did nothing. They knew better than to get involved in mafia business. When Riang arrived and saw Raya's tear-stained face, something inside him shattered. He made one phone call. By nightfall, Kim Sung-go's operations were burning across the city. Warehouses. Money laundering fronts. Everything. The message was brutally clear. Touch them again, and no one survives. That night, 3 men ambushed Riang outside the café. Kate witnessed everything from the window. The brutal efficiency, the cold violence, the way he moved like death itself. She watched him break bones without hesitation, saw exactly what he was capable of. A mafia boss. A killer. Dangerous. When it ended, Kate didn't run. She walked outside, stood before him, blood on his knuckles. "You're the one who's been helping us, aren't you? Paying my bills. Protecting us." Riang didn't deny it. "I should be afraid of you," Kate said quietly. "But all I feel is grateful." Riang's voice cracked. "I'm tired, Kate. Tired of blood. Tired of being feared. You and Raya. You make me feel human again." Kim Sungo took Kate in broad daylight. The ransom, Riang's entire territory. Riang walked into the abandoned warehouse alone, knowing it was likely his last fight. 8 men waited. The confrontation was savage. Fists, knives, brutal efficiency against impossible odds. He fought like a man with everything to lose. Kate, hands bound to a chair, watched Sungo circle like a predator. "You think he'll break?" she said, voice steady despite her fear. "You don't know him at all. He's stronger than any of you." Her faith ignited something in Riang. He fought harder. Smarter. When the last man fell, Sungo fled. Afterward, bloodied and barely standing, Riang knelt before Kate. "I can give you money. New identities. Safety far from this world." Kate placed his bloody hands on her swollen belly. "If you want a future, pick us. Not this life." 3 months later, Riang sat in the rebuilt café. No longer a boss. Just a man. Raya climbed into the chair beside him, showing him her homework with pride. Kate brought coffee, and this time he drank it. Her belly was bigger now. Their baby. Their future. For the first time in his life, Riang Min-jae was not alone. And for the first time, he wasn't afraid of tomorrow.